when I look back at like, old albums or family albums that was all shot on film, there was like no digital photography there
Yeah,
at all. And it
yeah,
has a different quality to it as well. In the same way
it
with
does.
music, when you're listening to vinyl or digital music. So
Definitely, yeah.
when you talk about choosing your shots, how, would you suggest starting on digital first to sort of, I don't know, get your style down?
No, I think going cold turkey into film is what will get you the discipline. You can't
Hmm.
get this discipline because there's no consequence.
Yeah.
Because I know when I did my first roll of film, I was literally shooting things for the sake of shooting things.
Mm.
I realized when I had my first roll of film back, and I still got my first roll of film. Actually, my first roll of film I almost destroyed during the development because I made a few mistakes. But that's the fun of all of it. But I remember my first roll of film where, because when you have a digital camera, you're looking through a digital screen and you're seeing images in a different way. But when you're looking at through an old SLR, you're seeing it through, an optical approach rather than a digital approach, and
Yeah.
you see things differently because you see the real shallow, depth of field and things like that. And after my first few rolls of film, I start to realize, well, what's the purpose of these images? What does this offer anyone?
Yeah.
From and even I experimented with some more expensive rolls of films that cost like £20 each, and that's when I started to really think about who I am as a photographer. Why am I
Hmm.
photographing these things? What does it mean when I post these images? And what am I offering everybody else when I take these photographs as a photographer? What do I offer someone else when they look at these images?
Hmm.
So it's helped me move away from shooting something because it might feel cool or looks cool or whatever, and for me to now start shooting because something has purpose. It belongs somewhere in the world. You know, and I feel like maybe it might offer something back to the world in a sense.
So it becomes a bit more of an art form than just, I don't know,
Exactly,
taking a photo for the sake of taking a photo.
exactly, and and most of art that's worth anything usually has those qualities where it offers something back to the world. That's something I didn't have before I started shooting film, and the reason why I really push people to shoot film is because not only as a photographer has it helped, but now when I'm looking at projects that I might want to shoot a music video or the next film I shoot, every single frame, that you plan in a film, you're looking at it in a different way now. Because, there was this thing that David Fincher says that every single frame should be offering meaning to the audience. Because if you look at David Fincher's work, it is literally from start to end, it's piece of information, and that's all it is. And that's what makes his films what they are, and how you're drawn from the start to the end. And that's how his misdirection works so well. Uh,
Yeah.
but only then, once I started shooting on film, did I start to understand those sort of concepts. Because
That's interesting because I was about to link that in because I know you've done a lot of DOPing as well.
yeah,
How much has your shooting on film informed that in
well,
your style and how you look at everything?
since I've started shooting on film, I've shot one project, and it's been my best project so far.
Yeah.
Because
So you're treating film in the same way you treat literally taking photographies on
yeah,
film, like literally
um,
choosing the project.
exactly. So the concept of film photography comes into the process of filmmaking. So the film is about domestic abuse within a marriage, um, and for us to have written it, well, not me particularly, but from us starting the project, which was 2 weeks before the shooting day, all the writing was done within that, all the planning and everything that needed to be done before shooting had to be done between that time. So we couldn't afford to make any mistakes. I mean, we did make
Mhm.
mistakes, but we couldn't afford to. um, um, but the reason why the last film I shot with that director was different than this film was because of those the values that I picked up from film photography is, why are we shooting these shots? Is it really important for us to shoot them in this way? Because a lot of us get hung up on equipment or cool shot
Mhm.
or something that someone else has done. We get hung up on it, but what film allows you to do is really simplify things and get to the point. And it helped in this film because the last film I shot with him, we made a lot of those mistakes. And some technical benefits of shooting on film was that I was better able to understand exposure. And we were able to, save the film on a lot of parts where we run out of time and the sun started to set, the sky gets more bluer. We're able to compensate for those sort of things. And, all of those technical little bits and pieces, that came from working on film and doing that yourself, using a mobile app to check your exposure, and which seems really simple and seems like something you could really easily do. But until you start shooting on film, you don't really do it because we rely on our cameras to make those calculations for us.